It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today I wanted to talk to you about a specific treasure that can be used in many different game modes. One of the popular ones is obviously player versus player, but a few other modes is Alliance, Guild Battle, and the environmental story modes. The treasure today in question is the Scythe. This is the treasure that gives critical increase for all cookies, at least that are within the team. This is not a guarantee to hit critical hits. This is just an increased percentage. What I have discovered with critical percent, since there's critical percent and critical damage percent, is that critical percent is the chance of you actually landing a critical hit. What has also been discovered is that there are certain skills that just do not work with criticals at all. One confirmed one is Poison from Affogato. Every time I tried to run critical that was 100+% just from apple jellies and other cookies giving those buffs, the criticals never applied to the poison, but did apply to the regular attacks. And so I believe, and I'm still working on this, still experimenting, but I believe anything that is a area of effect skill, such as like latte skill, espresso skill, and a few others, I do believe that those skills are not going to be working with criticals for that reason. And so I wanted to go over some of the cookies today that I think can benefit from the critical treasure more than some of the other characters. And I'll kind of explain who I think benefits the most and why I think that. So these are the 5 cookies that I think benefit the best, because the critical is in the description for Cream Puff, is that when a critical is achieved, that a specific skill power happens, and that is on successful spell, which is critical. It is 1243%. So she can pump out a lot of good damage with a critical hit, but you need to really have high critical chances to accomplish that. So she can be pretty fun in that sense. Same thing with the healing spell, more than double the healing when criticals are achieved. Vampire already does a single hit damage skill of 1000%. When you apply criticals to that, it's essentially, if you've got the lab maxed out and you've got the new monument maxed out of critical damage up, you will essentially be doing almost 3 times the amount of damage. So that means you could essentially be almost doing 3000% damage of whatever your base damage is with Vampire, if a critical is achieved. And so that's pretty important and pretty impressive. Twizzly has that single hit to both cookies and other creatures, and then the zap that hits over time too. Now, why criticals work good with Twizzly is because it is not only doing the single hit, but the zap is actually going ahead and hitting every turn too. And so the zap is being applied with the critical addition on top. So that means you're doing more damage over time to the cookies that have already been applied it, not to mention the single hit damage that you've done too. And that's why her skill is built this way, because only doing a single hit of 14% of the attack is not much. So what's really important there is that you can put the attack power as high as you want. It's 14.4%. The regular attack that's not the skill, that'll be doing pretty good. But the skill itself, not so much. Where the skill crit damage, 350%. So that is crit on top of the 350%. You're getting quite a lot of different various values of damage there being applied. And so that's why that's important. And then of course the zap hitting too. Mala sauce She gives increased critical damage, but also same thing, that burn, 43% damage over every 5.5 seconds over 6 seconds. That's another thing that, yet again, hitting over a specific amount of time that gives critical appliances. And then the mace damage dealing a certain amount too. So this is just a cookie that helps increase the critical chances within the team, but also slightly benefits from it too. And then last but not least, Eclair. The biggest reason here is that the weakness is already an attack buff on its own. It's labeled differently, yes, because it's something that can be dispelled by the enemies. Instead of, the enemies attempting to dispel your own attack buff, it's a debuff on them that can be dispelled. But it works the same as a 25% attack buff, just for 40 seconds instead of 7 to 8 seconds. And, of course, it stacks. And the single hit damage is already 841%. So, if you are applying critical damage to this cookie, they are raising their attack power, and everyone's, technically. Yes, it's a weakness on the opponent, it can be dispelled, but it's technically an attack buff, and a pretty high one. You've got high single hit damage already, and so if you make that a critical hit rather than a singular, then it's going to be dealing quite a lot more damage than even the regular attack itself. So these are the ones that I think benefit the most from the Scythe, other than like speed teams. Because speed teams, if you're achieving a high enough critical percentage, then the damage output from speed teams should be big enough where that critical is applying to make the difference. Now, this is something you guys can determine for yourself as what you think is the best build with the Scythe. But this is something I just wanted to dive into today to discuss with y'all and get your feedback on what you think of the Scythe, as I think it is a good treasure that has a place in various different teams. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Thank you.